Taoiseach, this morning the Irish Examiner reported that up to 6,000 patients in Waterford and the South East are in a living nightmare due to an extraordinarily long wait for their cancer test results. At the end of last year, there was a backlog of more than 6,000 potentially cancerous tissue samples waiting to be processed at the Histology Department in University Hospital, Waterford. As of Monday, this has been brought down to 5,000 over the last 2 months, but there are still significant delays, with some patients waiting up to 6 months. These are samples which have come to the lab from hospitals across the region, from St Luke's in Kilkenny, Tipperary Hospital, and from samples taken at University Hospital Waterford, and indeed samples taken on referral from GPs. I want to stress that these are routine or non-urgent samples, meaning the likelihood of cancer is reckoned to be low, but they still originate due to a clinical concern raised by a medical professional. I again spoke with hospital management this morning, and I spoke to hospital management at the hospital during the week, and they told me that while most of these samples are taken to be examined as a precaution to rule out cancer, there is still a chance that some of these samples may indicate cancer. While the chance is low, they say, that is no comfort to the 5,000 patients who are waiting abnormally long for what should be a quick routine test. The results are needed swiftly for both patients and clinicians. People, Taoiseach, are worried sick when the result takes this long to be returned, and they will not have comfort until they get their result. Clinicians, meanwhile, need these results before they can offer a diagnosis for a patient's condition. They need to be able to rule in or rule out cancer before they can identify the problem, or indeed if there is a problem. While the backlog has been reduced to 5,000, it has only been brought down over the last month by staff working significant and what hospital management say unsustainable overtime. The Histology Department at University Hospital Waterford has been significantly under-resourced and understaffed for some time. It does not have enough consultants, it does not have enough histopathologists or medical scientists or support staff. This concern has been raised time and again by hospital management, indeed at several meetings between Oireachtas members in Waterford and hospital management, and they've raised their concerns directly with central HSE executives and indeed with the CEOs of the hospital groups. The hospital has issued an emergency alert to the Minister for Health in this instance because demand is exceeding capacity, and that brings risks for patient safety. Rapid diagnosis of cancer is essential for survival, as you know, Taoiseach. So given the scale of the backlog in the South East and wait times for a cancer test, the hospital have sought additional histopathologists, and yes, 2 consultant posts have been approved over the last few weeks. But we need a short gap solution for the South East, and that must involve the redeployment of consultants and other professionals from other regions to help on a temporary basis. Indeed, this was sought by the hospital and by the hospital groups, the South West Hospital Group and the Ireland East Hospital Group CEOs, but no help was forthcoming, and I got that directly from hospital management. That's not acceptable. So, Taoiseach, will you ensure that additional staff are redeployed to University Hospital Waterford to clear the backlog of 5,000 cancer tests? Will you also ensure that cancer services in Waterford and the South East are supported to reduce waiting times and deliver quicker results and diagnosis? And will you commit your government to reviewing the cancer strategy and cancer services to ensure that they are fit for purpose into the future and that we can reduce deaths from cancer in the years ahead?
Just at the outset, I want to thank Deputy Cullinane for raising this important issue, and it is a matter of great concern to me and the government that about 6,000 people in the South East region are waiting several months for laboratory test results. I know that causes great anxiety for patients, and it does run the risk of a delayed diagnosis and poorer outcomes, even though these are routine, not urgent samples. While the risk is small, and we do want to reassure people of that, it is not negligible, and it is below the standard of care that we seek to provide, that people should have to wait several months for the result of any test that they have. The hospital group have confirmed that corrective measures have been put in place, and the hospital has confirmed that all urgent samples have been and continue to be processed without delay. Corrective actions include the transfer of histopathology samples and reporting to other laboratories, additional histopathology reporting sessions by consultant pathologists in Waterford, the engagement of agency medical scientists and additional sessions by medical scientists in the hospital, Further additional resources are required, though, to meet the demand capacity gap for this vital regional service, and recruitment, or rather approval for recruitment of additional consultative histopathologists has been granted. The hospital has received considerable increases in resources in recent years. Just in the past 2 years or so, the number of staff has increased by almost 20%, and the hospital's budget has increased by almost 20%. So there are now 2,400 full-time equivalent staff in the hospital, and the hospital has a budget of 270 million. But we acknowledge that there is still a gap between demand and capacity, and that's why authorisation has been given to appoint new consultants who are much needed. In addition to this, a serious incident management team has been established. It involves both the South West Hospital Group and the Ireland East Hospital Group to ensure all available supports are provided to the hospital to manage the backlog, and this does involve samples being taken to other labs and other hospitals where they can be reported on there.
Well, Taoiseach, I spoke to hospital management very early this morning to be assured that whatever can be done is being done. And she did say that the serious incident management team was in place, but has been in place for some weeks. She also said that the transfer of samples to other labs is not happening at the pace that was promised, and also that the ask from the hospital directly to the two CEOs of the hospital groups, because St Luke's, as you know, Kilkenny is in the Ireland East Hospital Group, and University Hospital Waterford and Tipperary are in the South West Hospital Group, that they also have made that request for histopathologists to be brought on site in Waterford as a short gap solution to deal with this problem. She says that hasn't happened, and as a consequence, those wait times and the number of samples are still unacceptably high. So I've already accepted that these are routine samples. Nobody wants to raise alarm, but hospital management have also told me that there is a risk of cancer in some of these samples, and we need to get them processed. Each of these patients need to be assured that their samples will be processed as soon as possible. So I think you have to look at that issue of transfer on the one hand, that's not happening at pace, but also others coming on site to help with the backlog.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Thanks. Thanks, Deputy. I'll certainly speak to the hospital manager myself about it this week to get a better fix on the situation. There are many ways we can get on top of the backlog. One is the transfer of samples to other laboratories, and I'll inquire as to whether that's not happening at an adequate pace. The other is the transfer of staff to the laboratory from other laboratories. Generally, it's easier to move samples than it is to move staff for obvious reasons. Sometimes it requires a little bit of both. But as you have acknowledged, the risk here is low because these are not urgent samples. But as I've acknowledged, the risk is not negligible. And I don't think it's up to the standard of care that we seek to provide as a government, that anyone should be waiting months for the result of a scan or a laboratory test. And we are going to get on top of this.
Taoiseach.